lately, if you've been watching some of the interventions with some of the progressives and others that are just doing nothing, there was recently one intervention that really caught my eye. It was of some of the bigwigs over at the New York Times and Washington Post, and the legacy media that keeps telling us lie after lie after lie. Well, somebody in the audience decided to speak up, and we have that person with us. First, let's watch this video. Reef, if you could bring that up. Here we go.
I'm looking for the one with Seymour Hersh because it's a policy and press hall event. So shouldn't we be talking about the Nord Stream since that's the biggest story of the century? And you guys, I'm sorry. I mean, you have the executive editor of the New York Times there who came out with a phony story to try and block Seymour Hersh. It's just kind of funny how that happened, I mean, did you even acknowledge Seymour Hersh? All of you are executive editors of papers that broke Pentagon, My Lai, Watergate. Is this the same papers or not? I mean, is there anything you've gotten right in the last 20 years, or am I mistaken about that? I mean, it's just kind of funny because Iraq, wrong. Syria, wrong. Russiagate, really wrong. Okay, I mean, the list goes on and on. So the last thing you could do to try and actually fix your reputation is acknowledge that through leaks, we had to find out that Zelensky was going to bomb Moscow on the anniversary. I mean, if you're so impartial, shouldn't you at least say, right, that Zelensky was going to bring us on the verge of World War III? That seems pretty fair. While Julian Assange rots in prison, all of you've got, fat checks because he's in jail for doing your job. And you know what? Tucker Carlson ain't no Seymour Hersh, but he did something you guys are scared to do. Speak the truth and actually be critical of the war, which is why he was actually fired from Fox, because you are all cowards. Every single one of you. None of you have actually had any relevancy. And you know what? The mainstream press is now dying. Nobody's ever going to listen to you again. You have no credibility with the public. The only people who care about what you have to say are elite assholes who have nothing productive to say anymore, and it's dying off. So will you at least say something, either about Nord Stream or Ukraine or the fact that Zelensky brought us to the verge of World War III, and the only reason we knew about that was through leaks? Go ahead. It's a free speech event, right? You guys are the press. Let's say something here. Mr. Khan, come on. You're the executive editor of the New York Times, I'm just trying to get into some good trouble here, man. Woo. Listen, Karen, get out of my face for a second. I got to talk to these gentlemen. Okay. Well, I just want to hear what they have to say. Go ahead. I'm done.
Wait your turn.
You're not going to tell to you. Come.
Wait your turn.
You could project if we can't.
I would just say I think it's important to hear everybody's point of view.
Yeah.
So thank you.
All right.
I do think that we need to give our moderator a chance to ask other questions.
We're on the verge of World War III.
Some of the people in the audience also do so. Thank you.
Let's go.
Really, thank you.
Say something about this bombing. We blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. Listen, don't stand there while there are people rotting in prison. Nobody said anything about Uhuru, right? The socialists who are in jail for being critical of this war. God damn it.
Let's go. Let's go.
At least say something about the people in jail for being critical of this war. They don't deserve to be in prison right now.
Very powerful. And we have Jose Vega, who was at that event with us tonight. Jose, he's also works on the Diane Sare campaign as well as his political activism. Welcome, Jose, and thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm always happy to be on.
First, are you okay? Because it looks like they threw you to the ground and you got injured.
I had a little bruise here that I'm looking at on my knee, but it's okay. I'm okay. It was quite a, being pushed by the Dean of Columbia. I don't think I'm going to make Dean's List this semester, but we'll see. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness. That was quite an intervention. You said so many really important things. I watched that like 5 times, I have to confess, because I love watching your interventions. And I've had you on my show before, and you're actually teaching people how to use their voices to confront these politicians and media that are not doing their jobs. So could you talk a little bit about what you're doing, that activism that you're trying to, pass on to others?
Yeah. Look, there are 435 congressional districts in the country. Can we get one person in each of these districts to stand up and do what I did? Some people may not know, some people might. This isn't my first rodeo. I've done this to AOC, Jamal Bowman, Nancy Pelosi, Mike Pompeo. The list goes on and on. And that's people just need to start standing up and taking back their country that's been hijacked by fascist and tyrannical forces. That's what I've been saying on all these interviews that I've been getting on, is that I'm trying to kind of, listen, I appreciate the support. Trust me, I appreciate it a lot. A lot of it has gone to me and my little kitty over here. But
Kitty's cute.
he's a little grumpy. I'm waking him up from his nap for the interaction. But now I'm turning it over to you, to everybody who's listening to this and will listen to this. And Tara, I'm a big believer that everything we do will influence the future and will be used by the future. So to the kid who feels as if they want to do something to address some kind of injustice 100 years from now, or 50 or 20 or however many years it might be, stand up and call out that injustice that you're seeing right now and experiencing it.
Well, you've been calling it out, that's for sure. And I wanted to, going back to this particular event, usually I've seen you go after progressives, that's how we've seen you do this, but this was different. This was media, legacy media that is notoriously sort of they're not even journalists, they're stenographers, let's face it. They're just they're literally writing verbatim press releases. And I think Matt Taibbi, who is being really targeted right now and even threatened with jail by a member of Congress for lifting up the truth about Hamilton 68 and the way we're all being censored on social media, but also how they're crafting the message. And other media outlets, they're not reporting, they're literally just copying down press releases and statements.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, so tell us a little bit about how you got into that event, what drew you, and then any aftermath.
It was an event that was open to the public, first of all. And I do want to make a point, right? It's a 2-day conference. They had a video message from Barack Obama. All the big wigs of the corporate press are there, and they can only get 60 people to come. I mean, the room they got was filled up, but it was a small room. And the registration was still open because it said limited spots only. I was able to reserve the same day. So a friend of mine was able to reserve, half an hour before, right? And registration was still open. So obviously people don't care to hear what they have to say anymore. And so I just got in, I walked in, and the nice, graduate students at the front desk were like, "Hi, what's your name?" And I said, "Jose Vega." And they're like, "We don't see you on the list. Did you register today?" "Yep." "Oh yeah. Oh, here you are. Okay, great." Right upstairs. That's always the moment where I know, okay, great. Then we're coasting. We're good now. We're in. Once you get in, that's it. Now it's just a matter of, what are you going to say? When are you going to say it? And how are you going to say it? And so
I noticed someone intervening with you, like they kept, like, wherever you would go, they would like do this. Who was that person? Was that a journalist or was that some other person?
Some random crazy person who I guess was trying to intimidate me or something. He kept trying to look me in the eyes, but it didn't work, clearly. So yeah.
Kynan was able to get up there and say a few words as well.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah. And so tell us a little bit about what you're doing in terms with Diane Sare, because I know that you're working with her campaign, and this is kind of going hand in hand, calling these people accountable, because we are at the most dangerous moment in history, one of the most dangerous moments in history right now. So tell us a little bit about what you're doing with her campaign and how this activism kind of loops in with all of that.
What we're doing with Diane's campaign really is trying to revive the American spirit again. And that means a lot of different things to a lot of different people. But all it means is using the tactics, using the principles founded in the American Revolution and in the civil rights movements of the 60s, because that is American history, whether some people may want to accept that or not. The things that Dr. King did and led his movement is America. And so we're using those kinds of principles and tactics today to take back our government. I was making this point at the conference that you and I were at, that our Congress is bought and paid for. They don't really represent the people anymore. They haven't really. It's for the last 40 years, maybe, if you want to go back that far, right? Definitely in the last 20 years, nobody's been representing it. And you've actually stepped into complete fascism now in the last 20 years, whether it's mass surveillance or, it's the jailing of political dissidents and people like Julian Assange. It's horrible. And what we're doing with the campaign really is trying to get people to stand up, because I believe people get the government they deserve. And as harsh as that sounds, it's also true. If we're not holding them accountable, well, what do we expect? Just to complain on the side? No, we've got to inspire others to stand up and speak out.
Well, you've been a really great voice for the anti-war movement as well. And do you have any thoughts about, like, because you're in your district, I think you're in, whose district are you in?
Richie Torres.
Okay. What is their position on the proxy war US and NATO is fighting against Russia via Ukraine?
I confronted my congressman on this in a much calmer approach, and he basically said Putin is the second Hitler. So, I mean,
what isn't that ludicrous when it's actually the West that's supporting the Nazis, right?
Exactly.
Right. It made up 14% of the government of the Kiev regime. 14% were Nazis. These Nazi battalions now that are destroying and shelling and terrorizing the civilians in Donbass. And we just had Randy Credico on. And by the way, Randy announced on the show a few minutes ago that he's running against AOC. What do you think of that?
He's going to run as what? As a Democrat, as an independent? Or
he's running as a Democrat, and then he said he'll switch to independent if he, loses the primary or whatever. But in the primary, he's going to run against her so he can debate her.
All right. Well, if he wants to win, then he has to work with me. It's that simple. I'd be happy to work with him. I know he's not super friendly to me or my organization, but, if he really wants to bring back the American Revolution in spirit, Alexander Hamilton and Thomas Jefferson abhorred each other. They absolutely hated each other so much. But Alexander Hamilton endorsed Thomas Jefferson once, and said, I'd rather have this guy instead of the other guy as our president,
it's time for us to put aside any kind of like biases or ideas. Like if he may have like he talked yesterday, he was on Kim's show and he mentioned he was going to have Diane Sarah on his show. So we'll hold him
Randy
to that.
Credico said that?
Yes, he did. He said, I talked to him and I had just been at that event with Scott Ritter and we talked about what's important. And he wanted to, and he's also senior interventions. I think people are seeing, they kind of got, believed some of the smears about the LaRouche movement. And now I think people have realized that it's changed in the way that it didn't even have to change that much. A lot of those were smears that were done simply to marginalize the group, right?
Of course, exactly.
Which is what happens to any of us that speak up. We get smeared, personally attacked, and delegitimized as much as they can possibly do it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not asking people to join my organization. I'm asking them to stand up for what they believe in.
Exactly. Exactly. And we appreciate that. So anyway, so we'll hold him to that, and hopefully he'll have a Diane Sarah on. But so going forward though, with closing thoughts, what would you like to leave the audience with, and how they can find you and how they can take steps, moving forward here?
Well, first thing I'll say is, Randy, if it's true you'll have Diane on, I will help you get all the signatures you need, and I will campaign for you, with you. I will be your biggest advocate. I will bring up your name in every intervention if you actually do work with us, and you can hold me to that. Anybody who will work with us, I will make sure you fly, brother. So there's that.
I will tell him.
And secondly, I guess people can find me on my Twitter at HoseBTrigga. That's JOSBTRIGGA. It's that name because Hose A was taken, so I had to do Hose B, and Trigga because I was like 14 or 15 when I made my Twitter.
I love it.
Yeah, right. So, I was young and dumb. I'm still young and dumb, but a little less dumb than I was. But
you're a cat dad now, so
Yeah, I have to mature. I have to get smarter now. Oh,
right.
Yeah, exactly.
To be a cat dad.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a cat daddy. Yeah. So people can follow me there. They can get on my patreon.com/declaring independence or my YouTube channel, Declaring Independence.
great. And I know a lot of us are getting strikes and problems with YouTube lately. Kim Iverson just got a strike yesterday. Mine's been deplatformed, demonetized, a few of the videos. I think INN, Indie News Network, has been stricken. Is that true, Reeve?
Yeah, we're in YouTube jail for 2 weeks. So
Okay.
No.
yeah.
So yeah, they're coming after us right and left. So we need to find ways to get our voices heard. I'm on Rumble. We're live right now on Twitter, Twitch, Rumble, other platforms that do not Rockfin and that don't censor and that don't, try to keep our voices silent. So before you leave, real quick, Reef, do we have any questions for Jose?
Yeah, we got a couple. Let me look for a good one.
Live audience.
I mean, we've had a couple. I just had to choose which one. I think the Nord Stream was.
Okay.
Who do you think who did the Nord Stream pipeline? What's your guess?
Oh man, I don't know. See, it's so funny. I think it was Ukrainian nationals. Yeah, I think it was Ukrainian nationals who took a yacht and they were just
right,
like,
it was a yacht.
Yeah, wouldn't it be crazy if we just blew up a major piece of critical infrastructure right now, guys? I just happen to have some homemade explosives with me, and we are all expert divers who can, because only a handful of divers in the world can actually make that dive. So, I'm one of us is on that boat, right? Yeah. No.
But thank you.
Anyway, yeah. So
as a person named Reef who has been diving for a while,
right.
that was not at night. A 200 plus feet dive with multiple tanks, multiple hours underwater. If not, you're gonna end up with the bins.
Right, exactly.
That's okay. No one knew that was happening. No one saw you getting the specially high ox mix that someone's gonna ask questions,
Well, what's amazing is you brought up Tucker early on, and he talked about Cy Hersh's reporting, and he actually raised up the issue a couple of times. He also brought up the issue, which we haven't. I wanted to bring it up on the show real quick. What were your thoughts on the 51 CIA agents that signed off on a letter to silence the Hunter Biden laptop story? And then they admitted in the testimony that they wanted Biden to win. By the way, I was an intern for Leon Panetta, and he was one of the signatories on that letter. He's also on the board of Raytheon. So,
anyway. I actually, I see this apparatus going back to your case, how you were sexually assaulted. I don't know if we can say that on YouTube because of the. Of course,
yeah, you can say it here. It's fine.
Okay, yeah. But, the fact that, Joe Biden did that and was able to mop it up and sweep it up. And then when you brought it back at a time when Me Too came out, right, and everybody was rallying around, oh, yeah, Me Too, the conservatives and the Republicans. Well, what about the head honcho? Nothing. It just goes to show you that this apparatus continues to exist. And it's disgusting, right? That politicians can just call up some people and say, hey, listen, I need this swept under the dirt. What's the best way we can clean this or make it look like it's Russian disinfo or Russian compromat, right? It's horrible. And, Seymour Hersh actually commented on it before the 50 signatories. He said, I wouldn't touch the Hunter Biden laptop because fathers will go to lengths to defend their sons. Okay. And he said, so I knew about this. And I knew what they were going to do. And I said, let someone else do that because I'm not trying to be, under Joe Biden's target right now.
And he does target. He's been weaponizing the whole DOJ. And as my audience knows, who knows and follows me, my communications were all taken under sealed warrant. There was a grand jury impaneled. Now, they didn't indict me. However, they have indicted the Hoover Group and 4 members of the Black Socialists who are now facing prison under the FARA Act, which is the Foreign Agent Relations. And which is really an administrative act. Basically, you're supposed to register as a foreign agent, and they're not. They're Americans. They're Black activists, have been doing it for 50 years. They're not being influenced by anyone. It's a sham, and it's a test case, in my opinion, to see if they can silence speech. So, Jose, have you gotten any pushback from the FBI or DOJ or anything like that? Or have you been allowed to do what you're doing and be active and I know that you stay within certain parameters, but.
Well, yeah, I mean, the only pushback I got was after I confronted Hakeem Jeffries on Nord Stream. I got a call from DC Capitol Police, mind you. for an event that happened in New York. And they asked me questions like, were you going to do this again? What was your intention? What would have happened if you weren't escorted out? It's like, you can call my lawyer, okay, and figure that out. Because I'm not talking to you. And never talk to the feds, kids, okay? Unless there's a lawyer present, say nothing to them. You say, I don't know what you're talking about. Call my lawyer. You don't have a lawyer, they provide one for you. That's well within your rights. So, I don't care if you're arrested or whatever you just did, get a lawyer first. So that's the only pushback I've gotten.
Interesting. And it's tough to know because like I know when in 2020 back in the day when I got a bunch of death threats all at once, someone showed up at the property, someone tried to take my horse, a bunch of drama.
Oh my God.
Right? So I go to law enforcement thinking they're helping me. And no. And then they opened a case on me, right?
Oh my God.
So we found out, like, and it's been public that one of the reasons, apparently, according to this journalist, and I don't have the verification for this, because I still don't know what they were putting me under surveillance for. Was it to help me, hurt me? Was I swept up in another case? I have no idea to this day. It's sealed and I'm not allowed to know. My lawyer tried to find out, couldn't find out. But what a journalist said is what they found out was that Joe Biden's the campaign and the administration wanted to know what reporters were talking to me and what they were saying. And
wow.
so again, that goes to what you were saying earlier about the Hunter laptops. So we have these huge things. The Biden, and I don't know if he's cognitive enough to be this diabolical, but the people around him really want to hold on to that power. That's the problem.
We've seen examples of when they kind of let something slip by on Biden, which I think is a way to kind of keep him in control. Like when the New York Times admitted, no, actually the Hunter Biden laptop is legit. There are legit things to it, right? When that came out, I was thinking like, why would they admit this? Because this is really controlled, right? I think it's also the case that maybe Joe Biden was not going along with something behind the doors. He's like, really, Joe? Hey, it just so happens we just confirmed that your son's a fucking degenerate. So, yeah.
Exactly. So where do you go from here, Jose? What's going on with the work that you're doing in activism, and leave us with some parting words.
Well, like I said, I want other people to start standing up and doing this. Do it in your district. Get a friend to do it with you. Get me 435 interventions and I will run for Congress. That's my condition right there. Because people keep asking me, run for Congress. I don't want people to stand behind me and watch me do something. I want to inspire you to do something, right? So if you could do that, if you could fulfill that condition of 435, and I'll help you do it. We do classes, we're working on it. You got 15 out the way. I'll count my 15 as part of that 435. So now you got 420 left to go. So go for it.
Sounds like good, solid advice. Well, thank you for being with us, Jose, and everyone can follow you on social media and follow the TheTaraReade campaign. And, good luck to your future. And it was really fun being at the event with you.